Hi everyone, welcome to our webinar. My name is Trish Winters and I work for Rowan Learning and Development. I am a teacher, coach and engagement facilitator, and I'll hand you over to Mark.
Hi everyone, I'm Mark Brown and I work with Trish at Rowan Learning and Development, and I too am an engagement facilitator. And our name suggests that we're a regular training company, but actually we're not. Our business is more in the transformation of the whole business rather than just looking at individuals within it. So we have a very rounded and complete focus on helping people in business as well as helping the business itself. So I guess to kick off with, we all want to know what employee engagement actually is. So Trish, what is employee engagement?
Well, I think it's a really good question, Mark, actually. And if you Google anything about employee engagement, there's huge amounts on the internet about it, but also there's a lot of misconceptions. And I think for me, employee engagement is when your team want to come to work for a variety of reasons, but they're fully sort of committed to the organisation. They sort of are really engaged in the company's vision and values. They maybe go over and above sort of what is expected of them. And I think, you know, for some companies who maybe have an employee engagement survey or do employee engagement work, you know, they think that employee engagement is, you know, giving their staff, I don't know, tea breaks and lunch breaks, or having a pool table in the staff room, or whatever that might be. And it's a bit of a tick box exercise. And I don't know whether you agree, Mark, but I think it's more than that.
Yeah, I think you're right, Trish. Yeah, I think it is something you can measure, and it's about the emotional connectedness that someone has to their job and their business. And what we know is that when we have engaged people, they tend to love work more. And because of that, they work that bit harder. So what are the downsides, Trish, of having disengaged employees? Why should we worry about having engaged employees? So what are the downsides?
Well, there's lots of you know, lots of bad points or negative reasons why you wouldn't want to have disengaged employees, and it, to be honest, the bottom line really is that it costs the business a lot of money. You know, disengaged people are, you know, often people that sort of are absent from work. They are less productive than engaged employees. And they, you know, from a customer point of view as well, they're not sort of really going out there and giving their customers the best possible experience. They just, you know, they don't care enough about the values of the company to want to go and do their best, or to give the, you know, an amazing experience for their customers. You know, that there's, yeah, lots to it.
Sounds like people that are disengaged don't really enjoy work. They don't really like going to work, based on what you're saying.
That's right. I think, you know, it's, sorry to interrupt, Mark, but it's, you know, it is, it's somewhere, work is somewhere where they go to earn a paycheck. It is not somewhere where they, you know, aspire to grow or to develop, or to, you know, maybe follow their career path, or, you know, somewhere where they, you know, they're proud to work even. It is just purely a place, a bit of a chore probably, a place where they go, you know, between certain hours of a day, and then they get paid at the end of the day.
Yeah, I guess there's like a connection or a waypoint. You don't just go from being engaged to being actively disengaged. I guess that there's a midpoint in there somewhere, a bit like on the Net Promoter Score, where there's those people that are delighted and those people that are total opposite. They hated the experience. There must be that bit in the middle, which is kind of a 7 or an 8 score.
Yeah, they're showing up. They're doing the work. So they're not, you know, what you and I would call, you know, terrorists. They're not sort of, you know, actively, you know, moaning about their work, or, you know, sort of, you know, causing problems. But yeah, they're just showing up. They're doing what is required, probably. But if they were actually asked about, you know, about their work, or whether they liked it, or whether they liked working there, they'd probably score, I don't know, 6, 7, maybe 8, something like that. So it's okay. But yeah,
so they'd say that the place they worked at and their job was sufficient, okay, satisfactory.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
But what they don't do is give that little bit extra.
No.
You know, it's a bit like this. If we put our hands up, put your hand up, Trish. Okay, now reach a little bit higher. Yeah, so that reaching a little bit higher is what engaged people do. Engaged people reach that little bit higher. They do that a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, words like, I don't know, passionate and enthusiastic, and, you know, those types of you know, words would describe those people sort of at the top end of the scale, those that sort of, you know, were, you know, actively engaged. And yeah, obviously the opposite for those at the bottom.
Yeah.
So, you know, an organisation doesn't necessarily have people that, you know, that they believe are fully engaged. They might think, well, actually, they're coming in, they're doing their work, they have the odd day off here and there, everyone's happy. But actually, when those people are truly questioned, a lot of them aren't. A lot of them don't feel valued. A lot of them don't care about their organisation. They couldn't care less whether they have a few days off sick or not, or, you know.
Yeah, there's also a correlation data-wise that people who are disengaged will stay with the business for less time. So you tend to get that scenario where in a disengaged environment, you're always looking for new staff and you're looking for them often. So that creates havoc, and it costs a lot of money to constantly be recruiting and replacing people. So that has a massive impact on business.
Yeah, the money is a massive factor. But, you know, Mark and I do a lot of work within a particular industry, and we work with people who, you know, actually staff turnover, and I'm going to say 40%, but in some of the organisations that we work in, it's probably higher actually. And, you know, that does cost huge amounts of money to recruit new staff, but also the culture of those places is so you know, the turmoil that those members of staff go through, having to, you know, train new colleagues. Obviously, there's gaps in each department where you know, people are coming and going or whatever. It's a really tough place to work, isn't it, when that's happening?
Yeah, and then what happens is those people turn up on one of our training courses in our other lives. They turn up on a training course and they really don't want to be there. They're really unmotivated, I think is the best way of putting it. And subsequently, the business gains nothing and the individual gains nothing. So it's a bit of a ever decreasing circle, I think, in that we're just going around in this continual circular motion. We're not actually getting anywhere. And it's all down to what it's like to work there and what it feels like to work there. And how I'm motivated by that.
Yeah.
So I suppose what we want to know, I guess, and we've kind of touched on it already, is if we have got engaged people, what can we expect?
Well, the actual organisation is just a really productive and forward-thinking and, you know, positive and pretty amazing place to work, really. It's fantastic for the people that work there. They all are passionate about what they do. They all strive to do better. But likewise, if it's a customer facing organisation, the customers want to be there as well. The customers can, you know, pick up on that culture, because also the staff that they're dealing with are all delivering an exceptional experience, and also the customers are dealing with the same people constantly, because they're not leaving.
Yeah. I guess there isn't a a one-size-fits-all resolution for engagement either. So what will work in one business might be different in another, because I don't know of many business where everything that goes on within it is bad, or is not good, or is disengaging. So there needs to be some kind of analysis of what's good and what's not good. So some of the issues, or some of the areas that affect engagement, and there's about 12 of them. Some of them will be okay in some businesses, and it's other bits that need to be focused on. So I think, as you said, Trish, the environment and the culture that's in the business will largely create or not create a level of engagement. And it's all about what it's like to work there. So, and that emotional connectedness that I subsequently had with the business, based on, what it's like to work there, what my colleagues are like, what my manager's like. Manager's got a massive influence on engagement. So if you've got a manager that acts a bit like a coach, rather than being someone who controls and directs, then usually you get a reasonable level of engagement within the business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, as well, you mention managers. It's a lot to do with making sure that people have the right resources. And by right resources, I also mean the right sort of level of training and the right support. And a lot of people that we work with are, or they become managers because they're, I don't know, the most senior person there, or the best salesperson, or they happen to be good at certain things, so they become a manager. But actually, often they don't have the right resources and the right knowledge and training to do their job as well. So an even bigger breakdown can happen, can't it?
Yeah, and it's not as if, when a lot of managers become managers because they're the best salesperson, or they're the best person technically. And that doesn't always work. It can work, but it often doesn't, because they don't get any help to be a manager. So what made me really good as a salesperson aren't the same things necessarily that are going to make me really good at being a manager. So there is a bit of a disconnect between those. But the thing is, it's not the manager's fault.
No.
It's not the manager's fault, because they don't know what they don't know. All they're doing is trying to use their sales or their technical skills to be a manager, when actually they probably just need to be a bit different to that. So what we found is that the most successful managers are coach-like, really, which isn't typically what your best technical person is or what your best salesperson is. So there is a bit of a disconnect. So those people need help, and even if it's just identifying what a good manager and leader needs to do differently, that would be a great help.
So what factors then impact engagement? What are we sort of, actually looking at?
Well, I think I mentioned before that there are about 12, only 12, quite interestingly, factors that impact engagement. So the engagement survey that we use that identifies whether there's a group of engaged or disengaged people only has 12 factors on it. And they range from the levels of, do I get to do my best at work every day? Have I got the resources I need? Right up to, can I grow, or am I growing, and am I progressing? So there's a whole raft of 12 questions, or 12 emotional factors that need to be in place for me to be engaged at work. Without those 12, it's very unlikely that any one person or one team will be engaged. So those 12 factors need to be in place, and they're kind of hierarchical as well. So I won't feel that I can progress and grow if I haven't got the resources I need to do my job. So there's a bit of a hierarchy to it. It's really, really quite simple to ask people to just do this really quick survey. It's not very onerous. It takes about 10 or 15 minutes to do. It's all anonymous as well. So we ask people to fill it in and give us their honest feedback. and because it is anonymous, people are more likely to do it. I think the speed of it and the history behind it, if you like, because Gallup, the organisation that created it, they've been working on it for decades. It's not something they just thought we'll do this. So they've studied this and they've looked into it. They've got millions of pieces of interviews and research, and what they've come out with their survey, which is called Q12, are the 12 things that aid engagement. In other words, the 12 things that need to be in place if you want to have an engaged workforce.
And there's sort of a foundation, isn't there, Mark? There's certain things that need to be in place sort of first before the sort of other layers, but those layers can, you know, be in a slightly different order, can't they? But, you know, it's interesting because obviously we've used the survey, you know, several times with lots of clients, and it's interesting, the organizations that think, you know, that they're spot on with employee engagement often aren't actually. You know, often results have come up that have been quite surprising for some organizations.
Yeah, and even some small organizations. I mean, sometimes you expect, rightly or wrongly, in the bigger companies that there might be a little bit of a disconnect, but we found it even in small businesses, haven't we?
Yeah.
Where small organisations think that engagement is good, and we've actually found out, well, you know, it might be okay. In some cases, it wasn't okay, but it's not as good as we initially think. So I thought, as you say, that was quite interesting when we took a look at those. Yeah, the smaller ones, quite surprising. Yeah. So why are we doing this, Trish? Why have we decided to go down the route of engagement? Why have we developed this engagement program?
Well, I guess as we've alluded to, really, we're both incredibly experienced trainers, and we work with hundreds and hundreds of people every year. And we have spent many years sort of listening to people's issues, listening to how people feel about their organisation, listening to, you know, different people moving on, changing employees and whatever. And so we've developed this program because we really feel that we've got a lot to offer behaviourally. We're both behaviour specialists, and we feel that actually, if by going into an organisation and offering our support and actually, you know, coaching the people that need our coaching and finding the evidence for the organisations that we work with, that actually we can really, really support them and help them, because ultimately, for your business to be successful or productive, or, you know, to make the most amount of money, if you want the scores on the doors, if you want, you know, the employee engagement has to be right. It has to be the first thing that organisations look at.
Yeah. And then when you look at the business and the people in it, we want to enhance business, so we want to make it more profitable, more productive. But at the same time, we want people to be able to enjoy work. You know, we spend a lot of years working in our lifetime, and people should enjoy it, because when they do enjoy it, it becomes less of a chore, and the business becomes more successful. So there's a direct link and payoff between the two. So if we can achieve that, or help you, or help business generally achieve that, we'd be delighted, wouldn't we, Trish? So are we going to do any more of these webinar type films? Are we going to do any more, do you think?
We are, absolutely. We are. We're going to go into some more detail about the survey that we've mentioned, about different types of engagement and what that actually means, and the different levels of engagement that your organisation might be experiencing. So we will, you know, let you know when those are going to be. We're going to do our next one in a couple of weeks' time, aren't we, Mark?
Yeah, we are. Yeah. I knew the answer to that really when I asked, but
you did, yeah. But if anybody has anything that they would like, you know, particularly like to know, then by all means contact us and let us know, and we will endeavour to cover it on our next webinar. So
Yeah, it'd be
thank you
really.
very much.
I was going to say, Trish, it'd be really interesting to hear what people want to know.
Absolutely.
We've got an idea of what the next few webinars or of videos will look like. It'd be really interesting to know if there's something that comes up regularly that you want to find out. Let us know, and we'll try and either create one around that or include it in one of our future broadcasts. So, on behalf of me, thank you very much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time.
Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.